Well, man, Favour, nothing missing, nothing breaking, nothing absent from your lives that are needed. Welcome to the June Laugh Podcast. This will be your PG-13 podcast for the month. I may do two. I've just been in a really ornery mood, y'all. I've done like four just plain orneries to every PG-13 here lately. Call it ventilating stress. Speaking of stress, uh, remodeling, renovations, and aggravations is the name of this podcast, folks. I am so old, I remember my first remodeling job. I was the demolition man. I couldn't figure out why my uncles, who were laid off at the time. Yes, 1970s were pleasant. People had great jobs and they still got laid off. And if they wanted to go back to work, they took less money. How's that for? Yeah, But no, my uncle said, "Hey, Raven, you want to come do a job with us? We'll pay you." It's like, whoa. And they were going to pay me better than minimum wage. He says, "Man, all you got to do is use this sledgehammer." It's like, whoa. What am I using the sledgehammer on? You know, I drove T-posts. I knew what that was like. My granddad had a cure for that. He had a T-post driver, which wasn't much better. It'd make your ears ring and your arms ring. But no. He said, "No, just this little sledgehammer right here. And this little sledgehammer right here. One of them was big. One of them was small." It says, you know, you'll have places where you'll need to use one or the other, and then you got to use this nail puller. I learned how to use a nail puller. No, my first remodeling job was with my uncles. They hired me. They let me drive over to the house that I was supposed to be working on. I thought, man, this is weird. I'm 13. I'm not allowed to drive anywhere except for on the farm and my newspaper route. What the hell's going on here? I should have known I was being had. I mean, come on, y'all. Think about this. You can drive around the farm. You can drive the farm equipment. And you can go back and forth, do your newspaper route, and get your ass to school and then home. Don't drive that thing anywhere else. Oh, hey, Raven, you can drive your car over there every day if you want. I should have known, right? I should have went, yeah, what you talking about, uncles? What, huh? Yeah. I called Granddad. I said, "Granddad, Uncle's got me a job, said I can drive the car over there." And he goes, "Yeah, you can." I'm like, "Oh." That should have right then told me I needed to go get in front of the fan because something was about to hit. I said, "Sure, man, they're going to pay me more than minimum wage." "Yeah, man, I'll do it." He said, "Well, you'll probably be working over there by yourself for a while." I'm like, "Okay." So I meet him over there the next morning after I do my chores. They take me into this house, and they said, "All right, start right here." They took me upstairs, second floor. Start right here, and what they'd done is they had converted the attic into a room. They said, "You start right there at the point, and you just take all that off." And I'm like, "Okay." I'd seen drywall, I'd seen paneling, I'd seen wallpaper. No big deal. It's like, he says, you just, peel it off, take it down. Once you get it down, they had this overhead door at the end of the attic that literally, it was, the escape hatch for high snow. You could open it up. All I had to do was he says, just take all the stuff and put it in this wheelbarrow. And I'm like, I got a wheelbarrow in the house? I had never been on a job like this before, you all. I'm looking at the wheelbarrow, and it wasn't a big one. It would just fit through that double door, that double window that was open down there. Unc says, "Well, we better take them windows off just in case. Don't want you to hit them." I'm like, "All right." So they go over there and they pull the hinges. Just enough room for that wheelbarrow to go flip up, and then handles would catch, so I didn't have to worry about losing the wheelbarrow downstairs, right? And they had this big dumpster pushed up against the house. I was like, what the Sam hell? I didn't see that when I came in from the other side. They had this big dumpster pushed up against the house. Unc says, "Don't worry about it, man. We can use the tractor and move it over once it's full at this end." And I'm like, "All right." I'm thinking, full at this end? What the Sam hell? Well, this is one great big room in the attic, man. They take off, and I got goggles on, and I got my baseball cap on, and I'm wearing my bibbed overalls, and Unc says, "Man, you better wear that flannel shirt over it." It wasn't hot. He says, "You better wear a long sleeve shirt, like a flannel shirt over it." Here, he had one of my flannel shirts, you all. He says, "Make sure you button the sleeves." It's like, what the hell? Man, I took that sledgehammer, and I hit the top one. And when I hit the top one, it wasn't that hard for me to hit because, attic ceiling. Man, this shit come raining down on me like, what the hell is that? Man, it was yesterday's and last year's and last century's shite up there in that attic space. Man, have you ever seen board and lath? Or batten and lath? Plaster and lath, I don't know what you would call it. Holy, board and batten is another word for it. Holy crap, you all. This stuff was literally like not so hard concrete. And it had these little 1x2s behind it. And they just put the 1x2s up and then they slathered this stuff on. Good Lord. Man, I'm hitting this stuff and I'm hitting this, and it's just raining down. And I'm like, I actually kind of started enjoying it for a little while. Ka-shaboom, ka-shaboom. And then I figured out, that if I went back down to the car and got my Maddox, I could take it up there and stick it in there and then take the sledgehammer and hit the backside of it, and I could just drive it down through. I wasn't that old. I wasn't that big. A little bit of leverage. Man, I get one section done, and I'm looking at the pile now. I got a shovel, a coal shovel. It's like, oh. You talk about aggravation, man. You got to shovel that up off a floor that's wood boards. Then you got to haul it over to the window and dump it. We did not strip that whole house down, you all. I made decent money. I'm not complaining. I made decent money. But once you said yes to Uncle and Granddad, you didn't stop just because you felt like stopping. Man, the first remodeling job I did, my job was to knock out all the plaster and lath. Man, while I'm downstairs breaking down the walls downstairs, they're upstairs fixing the ones upstairs. Oh, and there wasn't no insulation in there, y'all. You'd bust through one of them walls and you'd find newspapers from the 1800s in that house. Not joking. Downstairs there were newspapers from the 1800s and you could still read them. The ones that weren't completely sopping wet from stuff. I do not want to know what all was in them walls. You think about it, 100 years. Not quite. 80 years worth of stuff crawling around in them walls and I'm busting it down. Couldn't figure out why I needed to wear goggles and a mask over my face. Man, I'm thinking the only time I ever use a mask is when I'm sanding stuff. Sand has nothing to do with it. Man, you couldn't quit itching. That stuff would just, I don't think it was the plaster. I think it was whatever was in the walls. Man, you get down to the bottom of the walls and there's this great big pile of black pebbles. Uncle says, man, be really careful when you get to that stuff. You know, use the broom and don't stir it up too much. And I'm like, yeah, it's stirring up shit. Yes. Plaster and lath, board and batten. Holy crap. Man, we got that house. I got my part of the job done. Because I still hadn't, watched the 17-year-old do her drywalling techniques. I'm telling you, that was one of the best jobs. I didn't do it worth a damn, but it was a great job. I was 14 and she was 17 in a red bikini, you all. 17 and she had curves. I saw her a lot. And then I got to see a lot of her in that bikini. And she's sitting there in boots and socks in a bikini, slathering mud on drywall. Like a pro. She'd been doing it for a long time. And her dad was a drywaller, a drywall finisher. Man, I was over there trying my best to hit the seams, but I swear I was playing Connect 4 and I wasn't even in the same blocks. I'd have paid him minimum wage to sit and watch her do the drywalling, though. Nah, I mean, them old houses, man, good gracious. I went over to help somebody with a house one time, and they said, man, all you got to do is jack this thing up, and we'll get blocks and stuff up underneath it, and we'll get it braced. Climbed up underneath the house, and it was just a crawl space. Literally, there's just enough room for you to get in there underneath the logs that was holding the whole house up. Yeah, they was big logs, man. They were laid out across, and there was I don't know even what you want to call it. It was almost like adobe, but it had a lot of stone in it. And what they'd done is they'd put a whole course of this adobe and stone down. I don't know how deep it was, but it was, like 1.5 feet tall. And it looks like, they'd made a foundation. They laid the logs down in it, and you can see where them logs had kind of rounded it a little bit. But the problem they had is one side was sinking, so we had to jack it up. Now, folks, we are underneath the house. Come help me jack my house up, my whole 2-story house. It's sitting on logs, nothing to worry about. You talk about stunt kids. So we get the floor jacks, these great big, huge, heavy-ass jacks. And he says, it'll work. I said, are you sure? Yes. And I'm like, oh. So he says, when I say one, you just push down. And of course, neither of them go the same speed. Mine goes up an inch and his goes up like an inch and a half. He said, that's all right. Let me catch up with you. Or let you catch up with me. Yes, we jacked his floor up and put blocks and brick underneath it. Whoa, that would have been real fun. How did Raven die today? A 2-story house fell on him when the log rolled off the jack. The whole house was sitting on logs. I had never seen a house sitting on logs, I can honestly tell you that. The farmhouse I was in had cut logs. They still had round sides, but the top and the bottom of them were cut. So at least they ran that part through a sawmill. No kidding. The basement in the farmhouse I grew up in, when you went down there into the cellar, you could see that they had cut them logs. They cut the top and the bottom off of them, and the rest of it was round. You could still see the knots sticking out. Yeah, you got to give them credit for ingenuity, but no. Come help me jack my 2-story house up and put blocks up underneath it. Yeah, I guess you'd call that a renovation. Oops, I jacked it up too high. It's sitting out in the front yard and out in the road. I think your attic is now in the neighbor's yard across the street. Now, I'll tell you another thing that drives me crazy about remodeling, and the reason why I don't do it. If you're in an old house, they actually used 2-inch by 4-inch boards. No joke. Some houses actually have full 2-inch by full 6-inch boards in the walls, the old ones. And man, they are rough and they are hard, man. You try to get a nail in or out of one of those, you got to drill it and hope it don't break your drill. No kidding, that wood has been in that house so long that it's petrified. You try to run a drill in it, you can get a diamond tip drill and it'll just break it right off. Yeah, I learned to hand drill them things. No, you just turn your torque way up and the speed way down, and you go really slow and hope the hell that it doesn't shoot a piece of your bit across the room into somebody's ears. But no, man, the old houses had real 2x4s, 2 inches wide by 4 inches. Man, you go to the lumber yard, even in the 1980s, you were down to 3 3/4 by 1 3/4, which means you had a full 1/4 of an inch to make up. So if you went to put drywall up, it didn't work. Yeah, I'm working on this job, and the guy says, well, okay, now you're going to have to go back in. And I'm like, what? We'd strip the walls completely down, more of that plaster and lath stuff. I didn't like it, but I was really good at it because I hated the job. You ever do that? I was 15, 16, 17 years old. I was one of the favorite painters for all the people in our neighborhood that knew my granddad. Not cause I liked painting, y'all. I did not like scraping and painting barns. I did not like scraping and painting houses. I did not like scraping and painting garages. I hated it. My granddad knew how much I hated it. And he'd say, hey, old Angus is getting ready to repaint his barn this year. He wants you to come over and do it for him. It's like, oh, shit. Oh, no. He's going to get the boys to scrape it, and then you're just going to paint it. And I'm like, oh, well, that's better. You ever run a scraper on a whole damn barn? Scraping paint off of it? No. But no, here's the reason why they liked me. I hated painting. I hated painting inside of houses. I hated painting outside of houses. Man, somebody tell me, hey, you want to come paint? Oh, hell no. Y'all, I'd rather have toenails ripped out. Inside joke. I'd rather have toenails ripped out, again, than paint houses. I just hate it. But here's the thing. I hated it so much I got good at it and fast at it. I could do a whole barn in 2 days and have it covered right. Come back a couple days later and put the second coat on. 2 days. 4 total days, and I had the damn thing painted. There'd be people painting barns. They'd have a crew of 5 people, and it'd take them 2 weeks. Not me. I actually hated painting so much, I got good at it, and I got fast at it. And then everybody wanted me to do it. Man, I screwed up, didn't I? Man, he's really good at that. Send him over here. No. No, but man, you're in an old house that has real 2x4s. You go to the store and it's 3 3/4 by 1 1/4. And the 1 1/4 really don't make no damn difference, but boy, that other 1/4 inch does. So what we ended up doing, and I learned this the hard way, you line them up a 1/4 inch back and nail them in. And then you come across the front of it with a lath that is a 1/4 inch thick, and now you have the right width. I don't know what the hell they do today, man. I went to get some 2x4s the other day, and I was kind of hot. I went to get some 2x4s the other day, and they're 1 5/8 by 3 5/8. Holy crap. So, I mean, and they do that about every 5 or 10 years. They make them a little bit thinner. So if you had a house and you built it 20 years ago and you go get 2x4s now, it's not going to match the ones that are in your walls. It's just like, oh, hell. Yeah. And 4x4s aren't the same anymore. 2x6s. Hey. No matter what you get, it don't match. And if you got a house that's 50 or 70 years old, you're screwed. You're going to have to patch it. Yeah. 5/8. I got to figure out how to make up 3/8 of an inch. Oh, crap. And then you got this thing that they call the stagger. You put 2 of them together. You plate 2 of them together and set them in there so that it's a full width of your old 2x4s. That's a lot of fun, y'all. Yeah, remodeling my ass. Aggravation, not renovation. But then, you got wallpaper. Oh, good Lord. I don't know how many of you all grew up in those days. Let's put some wallpaper up. I need Martha here for her voice. Let's put some wallpaper up on the house. But first you gotta strip the old stuff off. Oh my goodness. And it was always one of them ladies, They had wallpaper in their house since they were born in the 19-teens. And they liked wallpaper. They didn't want paneling. That was tacky. I'll tell you what, paneling was a pain in the butt too, because when inevitably somebody would want you to panel their basement or panel their house, and not one damn wall was square. I tell you how I paneled houses, you all. People thought I was crazy the first time I did it. I wasn't very old. I was like 17. I said, yeah, I'll panel it. And I had been experienced with my uncles and my granddad enough. I started right dead center in the middle of the wall. He says, what the hell are you doing? And I said, I'm starting right here in the middle of the wall, and I worked my way out, and I made cuts at both corners all the way around. Why? Because then I could cut for that weird ass. I don't know how them houses were still standing. You would cut that board, and it would be a 2.5 inches narrower at the bottom than it was at the top, or vice versa. I mean, is this house the Leaning Tower of Pisa today? Hey, I know you hired me to put the paneling up, and I'm getting it done, but do you know that this corner right here is 2.5 inches further out than the one at the bottom? Woo! Never a square corner in them old houses, no matter what the hell you were doing. You try to put in new cabinets. Holy crap. You go in to put in a square set of cabinets, and that back corner is like lacking an inch of touching the cabinet. It's like, holy moly. And you can't, unsquare a cabinet to make it fit. And you can't unsquare a countertop to make it fit. Little did I know. I had a very intelligent uncle, man. Have you ever seen a countertop cut at a weird-ass angle? Well, when you 45 a countertop, there's an easy way to fix that problem with that back corner in an old house. You 45 it all the way out so it'll match. And then you cut the other one to match that inside angle, and guess what? But you better know how to miter. See, I'm all so old, I had to know how to miter cut. I had to know how to cut hips for roofs, too. That's a double cut, you all. First you cut the angle, and then you cut the side angle so that the roof will set where it's supposed to. A hip roof. Good gracious. Man, when I got into that, helping my uncles and my granddad and some of the other family, I had no idea I was going to be learning full-on construction techniques. Yeah, man. Oh. Yeah, and then you got to turn your saw this way and turn your saw that way, and then, oh, man. Don't get me wrong, it's paid in the long run, but whew. I'll tell you what, though, my family was funny. They were good at all this stuff, and they come over to fix our bathroom. Man, they put our bathroom on the back of the farmhouse. Until then, I had been running 100 yards out to the outhouse, and I didn't always know if I was going to make it. Flu season, forget it. Just give me a bucket. 2 buckets, one to sit on and one to throw up in. I am not going to make 100 yards with this stuff running. Man, you'd sneeze. It's like a water balloon, except it's coming out your backside. That flu in 76, 77, 78. Thank you for the shots, you assholes. Making everybody sick. New strain of flu. They created the damn thing, assholes. But no, man, 76, 77, 78, man, that flu went around several times, different varieties of it. And the first year it was horrible, you all. If you were sitting on the toilet, you had to have a bucket. Because I'm telling you right now, the minute it cleared out the backside, boom, it erupted from the front, or vice versa. And you always had to hope somebody hadn't sat on the one that you had to throw up in. But no, 100 yards to the outhouse is how I lived for a long time. And I'm telling you, during flu season, you wasn't going to make it. You just wasn't. But no, they put the bathroom on the back of the farmhouse. It was awesome. They closed in the porch. They got the plumbing in. They got the toilet in and the shower, which was all the room. There was a toilet, shower, and sink. It was great. Man, I'm sitting on the toilet one day, and I just happened to look outside, and I see the dog going by. I'm literally, if it would just have been a little bit bigger, I could have reached out and scratched him on the nose with one of my fingers. But you could clearly see the corn blowing in the wind. I was like, man, they do this all the time. Maybe they were wanting to air it out for the summer while it was hot. It was lap siding, lap siding. It overlaps. I did the doghouse. I was like 10 years old, 7 or 8, 10 years old, 10, I think. I did the doghouse, and mine lapped. The dog couldn't see the corn blowing, but me sitting on the toilet sure could. And there's a couple of spaces that if you walked by and looked in, you'd have seen everything I had. I was like, holy moly, that's a big gap. Man, a bird will get in here. They did eventually fix it. They did eventually fix it. It was just funnier than heck, man. I go in there, I'm thinking, I started to go out the back door to go to the outhouse. The same outhouse that the spider would chase Grandma out. Itsy bitsy spider, not the size of my fingernail. Not even my pinky fingernail. Grandma would see that, man, you'd think that there was a demon in there screaming flames at her, man. She'd come flying out of that outhouse, man. Most of the time I was flying into it because I'd wake up and I gotta go. But here's the other thing y'all missed out on. If you missed those years of the renovations and remodelings, we had a bucket on the back porch for nighttime use. And somebody had to carry the bucket out every day. Guess who that was? You didn't want that thing to start sloshing. Because it wasn't just liquids, trust me. But now, man, overlapping siding, and I'm sitting in there and I'm looking out and I'm like, wow, see the corn blowing. I could watch the corn grow all summer. They did get it insulated and fixed up by winter, but man, I'm telling you, I don't know if it was the euchre and the beer or if it was just they'd already had to cut in rafters and stuff and fix everything else too. You do get tired. Wallpaper, oh my goodness, man. First you got to strip the old stuff off. And they got this, they used to have this stuff, it was a wallpaper stripper. You put it on. Oh, it smelled horrible. A fan didn't even help. And they always wanted you to wallpaper in the winter time or in the middle of summer. In the winter, you can't open the windows, and in the summer, it's so damn hot it doesn't matter if you do. Yeah, we're going to wallpaper. You want to come over and help? No. Yeah, you're going to come over. No. Yes. No. You see me in chains and shackles, being loaded into the auntie's car, with a bucket with the wallpaper gear hanging from my mouth. You put this stuff on and man, it does. It peels the nose hairs out of you. You don't need a wax job or a bikini wax for months. No armpit hair. You might lose a little bit of your eyebrow so you don't have to pluck so much. If you're really hairy, you go back to looking like a teenager. Just a little bit of fuzz. That stuff would peel the wallpaper off, and then you have to gather all that goop up and clean it up. Make sure you cover the rugs. Well, why did you put the rugs in before you put the wallpaper up? And then you got this goop that you put on the back of the wallpaper. Now, I don't get this at all. I am a rational, logical human being. If I've got to put goop somewhere, why don't I put it on the wall so it don't get all over everything? No, you roll up the wallpaper and put the goop on it, and then it gets stuck together. And then you got goop on some of the wallpaper. You got to get it off. No, man, let's put the goop on the wall, start the roll down at the bottom, and roll it out onto the goop, and then press it. And that's the other thing. You had to press it just like if you were finishing concrete. Man, that never worked out. Man, I figured out something about that stuff, though. If you leave a couple of bubbles the first time they have you do it, guess what? They don't ask you to do it again. I hated wallpaper as much as I did painting, but I couldn't figure out how to make bubbles in the paint. Painting paid, too. Wallpaper, and you just got fed supper. Which wasn't a bad thing, but no. And then you were stoned for weeks. You'd go in and wallpaper. They wanted to wallpaper the whole room, so you go in one day and you strip it. Oh, like 10 layers of wallpaper from 1847 still up there. The first layer is just newspapers that they thought were funny, I guess. I think that was a base layer, It's like doing paper mache. The newspapers were the base layer. And then, you strip off a half inch. You're like, wow, man, this room's a lot bigger now. It's a half inch bigger all the way around. But anyway, you get all that out. And then you go back and you put the wallpaper up. Oh, you are literally stoned the whole week after you get done. Because the stuff sticks like to your sinuses and you can taste it from... You could have the most awesome dinner cooked by your grandma. And it tastes like wallpaper paste. Plah! I'll tell you what, that wallpaper paste and stripper was almost as bad as a guy going down across the field spraying cow manure, liquid cow manure into the air. At least liquid cow manure evaporated and soaked into the ground and you couldn't smell it after a couple of days. That wallpaper paste, you'd taste it for weeks. Yuck. And then you got masonite floors. I don't know if y'all know this, man. Masonite is like a half-inch thick concrete. They used to put that on the old floors because the old floors had these big rafters in the bottom of them. You also put them on a floor if you're going to have like a heavy load. Like it's great for kitchens. As a subfloor. Man, that masonite is heavy-ass shit. And I got a job guy asked me, man, you want to come help me lay a floor? And I'm like, yeah, man, that's easy. Putting wood down or tile or whatever. That was easy. Because most of the time, my job was to bring them the stuff that they needed to set down, right? And then they'd sit and teach me, and I'd help them do whatever, and they'd fix my work if I messed up. But I was really good at, like, tongue and groove floors as a kid. I was fairly decent at doing tile floors. I never did walls and stuff like that, man. My uncle said, no. But yeah, I wasn't half bad, especially if I had a good supervisor who knew what they was doing, working with me. But no, man, come help me lay a floor. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking, man, this ain't going to be too bad. I'm either going to be carrying in drywall or not drywall. I'm either going to be carrying in plywood or chipboard or, tongue and groove boards or tile or whatever. I'll just be carrying stuff. No big deal. I can handle that. Man, I get there, and it is 4 foot by 4 foot masonite. Oh, you all. They got these people that are truck drivers on brick jobs and block jobs. The truck drivers drive the truck with the mortar and with the bricks. Those are the truck drivers. I was the truck driver for masonite. And I'm telling you right now, you can only at that size, I could only handle one sheet of masonite at a time, and it was grunting to get it in there. I had to carry it across the 2 2x6s that were nailed across the floor joists to where he was at. Yeah, they stripped the whole floor out. Now, here's my question, you all. Why didn't he start at the doorway? Put the first piece at the door where I got to step in, and then I can just follow you. No, he's way over at the other end because it's got to be cut to fit, those weird shaped houses. You start in the middle and work your way out. So here I am carrying this big, heavy-ass piece of masonite flooring across 2 2x6s, and the basement is 14 feet below me. Good grief. We got it all laid out. He cut the edges to fit the way they need. He scribed the edges and cut them the way they needed to be fit. He said, see all them holes? I'm like, yeah. I come back the next day. He said, see all them holes? I was here last night drilling. I'm like, yeah. He says they're recessed. These screws go in there, and what it was is, the screws would be level with the masonite floor. It was a drill bit that left that recess for the head of the screw. He said, man, all you got to do today is just get all these screws in. And I'm looking at this one 4x4 piece, and I'm like, holy crap. And don't get me wrong, he'd put, in between them big floor joists, he'd put spacers in there so that for the 4-foot distance. But holy moly, you all. I don't know how many great big things of screws I went through. If you want to know what happened after I got all them screws down, you'll have to listen to the Just Plain Ornery. No, man, masonite floors were heavy. Now, when I got older, man, we did them 8-foot sheets. Ain't no kidding, man. 2 people. Now, you figure this. 1 person at each end, you really got to trust each other. Because what you're doing is you're doing a log roll across them floor joists. Literally, one guy goes in and steps down the floor joist. You step in behind him, right? Without knocking him off. And then you do a log roll across the floor joist and set that masonite down. We did a whole house that way, man. The whole base, the whole first floor was stripped down to nothing but those, and then it was about 8 foot down to the basement floor. It was an old house, but it had to be all masonite put back in because that's what they wanted. Man, met him. I was like, man, do you not pull on me? He says, don't push on me. I said, well, don't pull on me. He says, don't push on me. That's a long way down. Well, don't pull on me. Stop. Slow down. Hurry up. After about 6 or 8 pieces, we had it down to an art. Good thing he didn't make me mad, or I didn't make him mad. Whew. Yeah, masonite, that was a whole fun job. Yeah, Remodeling, renovations, and I'll tell you what, putting in cabinets wasn't no better. You'd go into a house and you'd go in there and you'd strip all the baseboard cabinets out, take all the overhead cabinets out, and hope the mice didn't drop down on you from the ceiling. Take all the cabinets out. Somebody has measured. Now, follow me on this. It wasn't me. Somebody has measured, and they have got everything that you need sitting in boxes out in the garage. Right? The guy that hired me, everything I need is sitting out in boxes in the garage, except for the countertop. It isn't here yet. My job is to go in there and level them cabinets and put them all in place, and here is the blueprint. This is where each of the cabinets go. Do you know them boxes don't have no damn labels on them? You got to open every last dang one of them before you know which one's which, except for the big cabinets, the long ones. It's like, wow. Hey, this is a horseshoe, so they're like 4 long ones. So you know how I am. I like to get things done. I get the guy that's helping me. I say, man, let's just bring all these in here. We got room. Nobody's here. We'll put some of them out there in that other room. And it was a double wide opening, so it was like 8 foot wide. You could just carry them in. We'll measure them and mark them. Because there's no marks on the boxes. I had the blueprint that was drawn by hand with the numbers. So on the back of them, where nobody would ever see it, we used a black marker and wrote the numbers, and then we wrote the numbers on the blueprint. Man, we get them all laid out, and that back corner of that kitchen on both sides leaned out. It's like, wow, there's a huge space back there. If we had a cell phone, I'd have taken a picture and sent it to the boss. Man, there were like 2 inches where the cabinets, where they squared off, didn't meet in the back. On both sides. I said, man, how are we going to put the countertop in? I hope you ordered it right. And he said, well, not my problem. Man, you try to level a set of cabinets up on a set of floors. I'm telling you what it looked like. It looked like somebody had put that floor in there. And what they had done is they had just said, oh, we're going to have a dipsy-doo here, and we're going to have a yip-de-doo here, and then we're going to have a woohoo over here, and a oh my God over there, and this is going to go up, and that one's going to go down, and this one's going to... Every one of them cabinets had to have boards along the back of them, and then you had to shim them. And then you had to get them to fit together. And you don't want them rolling downhill, so everything comes off the counter. Yes. Old houses. Yeah, let's go remodel a house. We're going to put all new cabinets in. Yay! Without one square corner or one level part of the floor to even work off of. I don't know, man. Maybe if I'd have done a little bit of acid, we might have got it better. It's like, oh, yeah, the house is now moving. Yes, it's breathing. We'll just work with the breath. I don't know. Nothing helped that job, man. We got everything in and got it squared and got it bolted together. The boss showed up and he says, fantastic. And then he started measuring. He goes, oh, my God. I can tell you right now, that countertop wasn't going to work. Because what happened is when you looked at that horseshoe where them cabinets sit, the right-hand side was out and the left-hand side was out, but both of the walls came in. It was pinching down towards where you were standing. Yes. Plumbing for the dummy. I tell you what, man, plumbing is a nightmare. I don't care what you're doing. If you want to renovate, just tear all the plumbing out and start over again, because you got no idea what the other person did. Man, I was in this one house and I'm like, where the hell does the pipe go to? Where the heck's that pipe go to? What's this water line doing here with a shutoff valve on it? In the wall, you all. It wasn't near the bathroom or the kitchen or anything. It was along an interior wall. They had run a line out along an interior wall and put a water line with a shutoff in it, and you couldn't even see it. It was inside the drywall. It's like, what's that for? Why did you put this here? Oh. And plumbing would get froze up, hard water will freeze it up so you can't shut the shutoff off. Man, you go down to the basement to shut the shutoff off to change plumbing on like a sink or a toilet. You hit the shutoff and the valve comes off in your hand. Now you gotta, if you're in a city, you gotta call the city and have them come out, or whoever runs a water company come out and shut the water off outside so that you can do your work. Might take them 6 days or 8 days, 10 days to get there to shut the water off for you. Oh. That's the reason why you carry a water key with you if you're doing this stuff. You just go out and shut their water off and hope the neighbor's not on the same line. I went outside one time and went down to the basement and I shut the main water off. I turned on the spigot right next to it. They had a spigot in their basement right next to the main water line coming in. I turned that spigot on and there was no water. Fantastic, awesome, amazing. I went upstairs and I tried 3 different, follow me on this, I tried 3 different faucets. None of them came on. I let them run until they run dry. Yay, the water's gone, right? I went upstairs and I started to pull the plumbing for the toilet and the sink, because that's what we were replacing, the toilet and the sink. Man, I shut the valves off. I unhooked the lines that went up to the sink and up to the toilet. I unhooked them. Everything was great. Everything was fantastic. Right? No, I shut the valves off upstairs too. And the minute I started to unscrew the hot water valve on the hot water line on the sink, water started spraying everywhere. It's like, holy crap. So I turned the valve, it still won't go off. So I screw the thing back on so it ain't spraying water everywhere. It's like, where the hell is this coming from? So I went over to the toilet, cold water, and I unhooked it, and it started spraying all over the place. I closed it back up. I'm like, what the damn hell? I called the owner of the house on their phone at work. I said, hey, I shut the water off downstairs, and I still got water spraying everywhere upstairs. What's up with that? And they said, well, there's a shut-off. There were 2 shut-off valves. They had 2 incoming water lines. Something you should tell somebody. So now I go home, and I am sopping wet from their floor. But the job did get done. Plumbing for dummies, though, I'll tell you, man, always mark your lines. When you know where stuff is going, you say, okay, this is hot, this is cold, and run your lines. I never run a whole line. I put them together as I go. That way I get the same bends and the same whatevers, 1 inch apart or whatever. One pipe, one set of runs will be 1 inch longer, but it's still the same curves and the same run up to your plumbing. Unless you're talking about your showers, because a lot of them you got to be 6 inches apart to hit the right fittings. But still, man, plumbing. In the old days, you used to have to sweat joints. Man, I'm telling you, that is just neat as heck. You heat that pipe up and you put that brazier on there and it just sucks it right in. You better hope you got it right when they hit the air to it. Boom! Something blows out. Yeah, man, I've done gas lines too, man. Once you learn how to braze water lines, you can braze gas lines too. That's even more risky. You better have your bubbles. Well, what bubbles you say? What bubbles you say? You take your dish soap and your water and you mix it up and you put it up painted on there. And if you see little bubbles blowing, you do not want to light a cigarette. Trust me. I'm just saying, if you're putting gas lines in and you see little bubbles in the soapy water, you do not want to light a cigarette. It might be really dangerous. Now, you talk about gassy, man. I put in brick heaters for people, these little 3-brick heaters for people. And you got to run the gas line in and up and hook it up. And you want flexible lines that are out there where people can hit them. But no, man, I'm telling you, you get them lines put in and everything's just fine. And then somebody calls you and says, man, I smell gas. Well, shut the gas off. And you go out and you say, well, what happened? And you're looking at the pipe and you can see that the gas tank that they had has been moved. Why did you move that? Well, I said, there's flexible line inside. No, this is not flexible out here. People do the craziest things. I'm telling you, they'll do the craziest things. They will run their lawnmower right up and slam into the gas line outside their house. You would like to think that it won't break, but, you're hitting it with a lawnmower for freak's sake. Or you got a mobile propane tank, 200 pound, 100 pound, whatever, 50 pound. You got a propane tank, and you got a hook to a line. And then you move it? You're just asking for a gas problem. And I'm not talking about your backside either, although if you're doing that kind of crap, you must have your head there. Oh, man, I got a call one time. I said, man, can you come over and help me? I got just a little bit of water damage in the house, but I need somebody to pull up this tile on the bathroom floor. It was vinyl. They wanted vinyl tile taken. Can you take the vinyl tile up off my floor and put some new tile down for me? I'm like, well, let me come over and see how big a job it is, and if I can get it done before I have to leave the country, yes, I'll come over and put some new vinyl tile down for you. That adhesive's a bear to get up and to put down. But anyways, I'm like, okay, I'll come over. And let me quote you again. Hey, Raven, I got just a little bit of water damage on the tile in my bathroom. Man, I walk in that bathroom and there's tile sticking up everywhere. You can see that the baseboard is sopping wet. The cabinet in the for the sink, the vanity for the sink, the bottom of it looks like it's rotting out. I opened it up and it was rotting out. I said, how long did you have a water leak? Well, I don't know. I just found it the other day. So I'm looking underneath the tile, and guess what they don't have on the floor? They don't have masonite that's waterproof. They don't have any waterproofing around the outside. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. I said, I got to pull that baseboard and look. What? I said, I got to pull that baseboard and look. That floor could be rotting. It could be rotting into your floor joint or your wall studs. What? I said, if your floor's been this wet this long, it could be rotting into your wall. And they're like, I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go down to the basement. I went down to the basement and looked up, and you could see that the whole floor underneath the bathroom was rotted out, all the way into one of the bedrooms. Just a little water damage. I said, man, I ain't got 3 months to fix this job, and you're going to have to get a contractor and a permit to do it anyway. I don't mind doing small things and helping people out and making a little bit of money, but I am not tearing an interior wall out and replacing it, plus the whole floor in the bathroom and the bedroom. I swear, y'all, if he'd have filled that bathtub up, he'd have been in the basement. That's how bad it was. Can you imagine that? Oh, it's just a little water damage. I'm going to go take a bath. Call me when you're coming over. I get over there, and he's filled the bathtub up to relax a little bit. And I knock on the door, and I hear somebody hollering from the basement, help, help, me in the bathtub's in the basement. I don't know how we got here. It was just a little water damage. I'd have had to get pictures, you know me. This is what a little water damage looks like. The bathtub is in the basement, and that hole right there was the water damage. Now, I tell you, man, you know that song, Too Much Time on My Hands by Styx? Shout out, Tommy. Yeah, too much time on my hands. Bullcrap, man. It's too much dust on my hands. Have you ever worked with insulation? You got three different basic kinds of insulation. You got the old shit that they blew into the walls. You remember Lurch? They blow that stuff into the walls and it just settles into the bottom. It's like, man, if you have to remodel a room and you're pulling the old drywall off and that stuff is in the walls, you better have a big shop vac. You know them giant industrial vacuum cleaners they use at arenas? Get one of them, man. Just make sure there's a bag in it so you can just tie it off and take it out. Oh, that stuff is awful, man. It's full of dust and dander and little brown pebbles that have turned black and petrified. Man, that stuff is awful. Man, and you get that stuff on your skin and you can't take enough baths to make you feel like you're clean again. Man, that stuff is horrible. Then you got the fiberglass insulation. Now, there's all kinds. You got the bats, the big bats that are like 4x8, and then you got the rolls that go into the walls or into the attic. Man, no matter what it is, when you're putting it up, you get these little specks all over your arms. I like to wear long sleeves, even if it's a light long sleeve shirt and gloves, and duct tape. I'm not joking, you all. I can't stand that stuff, man. You do a drywall job and you have to put insulation up, or you're just putting the insulation in like me. You put the insulation up in like 3 rooms for somebody, and they're going to come in and drywall it later. Man, 3 weeks later, I'll still have red splotches on my arms where that fiberglass is trying to come out. Yeah, it's like, man, you're breaking out. You all right? Yeah, it's just fiberglass. Sure it is. Sure it is. I'm telling you, it's fiberglass. Sure, yeah, them little red spots. Yeah. No, it's fiberglass, I swear. It better be. It better not be poison ivy. Poison ivy. If you never heard that song, it's funny. But no, man, the only time I get red splotches like that is when I get into sumac, poison sumac, and fiberglass insulation. Yeah. You know, it's never one of them easy jobs where you can just put it in. They've always got these spots where you got to cut it off, run the scissors through it. Oh, man. And, you inevitably, you'll be sweating and you rub your forehead. Now you got big red. It looks like you're a teenager again with the outbreaks, the acne. Now, I will tell you all this. If you get some white distilled vinegar, and you're doing a fiberglass job, the minute you get done doing the fiberglass job, get you a wash rag. And you pour the white fiberglass. Wow, that would be a bear, wouldn't it? You pour the vinegar into the wash rag and wash your face. As bad as smelling like vinegar is better than itching like hell. Right? In the old days, they had a fancy insulation, man. You get into the old house, you'll find sawdust in the walls, about half rotted and smells like hell. Sawdust in the walls. You'll find newspapers and magazines. It's like, wow. Just balled up newspapers and magazines they stuffed in the wall, and then they sealed it when the newspapers got to the top. You know what happens after about 50 years? 100 years, the newspapers are all in the bottom. Some of them are just rotted into nothingness. I have been in some old homes, though, where the walls weren't even wet, and I have no idea how. 110-year-old house, and the walls have no dampness in them whatsoever, and you can still read the newspapers just like they were printed. They're a little stiffer, though. Things you do not want to hear when somebody calls you. Maybe you can fix this. Maybe I can fix what? Well, maybe you can fix it. Can you come over and have a look at it? Maybe you can fix it. What did you do? Well, just come over and have a look. Maybe you can fix it. No. Hey, I just got a little bit of work left. The contractor I had quit. Can you come over and finish the job? No. Why did the contractor quit? Are you a schizophrenic nitwit? No. You call the contractor and he's like, oh man, you don't want that job. Why? Oh man, I don't know who I'm dealing with. They got multiple personalities, and they're completely nuts, but I never know which nut I'm dealing with. They're the whole box of nuts. And then the other one is you'll be doing something, and you'll be like right in the middle of finishing it. Like I was on this one job with this guy doing tiles. My job was to carry the tiles in and keep mixing the grout for them, right? And they got one guy grouting and one guy laying tile. And my job is just to be in there and carrying the stuff that they need, keeping them supplied. Man, this guy walks in and he says, man, I've changed my mind. Dude, we're 3/4 done with the whole floor. We have tiled the big stuff in the back, the big stuff in the kitchen. Now we're finishing the stuff in the bathroom. And we're working on doing the really nice tile out in the front. And the guy says, well, I've just changed. Yeah, I've changed my mind. I don't know if I want tile out here in the main room. Okay. We got like 4 pieces left to scribe, and this half is done. My understanding is that even though we finished the tile, he come back in and put shag carpet over it. How ridiculous. Things you don't want to hear. Maybe you can fix this. Oh, it was just a little water leak. Bathtub sitting in the basement. It was just a little water leak. No big deal. Little damage to the roof. Man, I tell you what, I've been somebody sent me a message. Said, man, can you come over and look at the roof? Maybe you can fix it. Man, I got over there and I said, what roof? I was living in Tornado Alley, you all. I get over there and apparently it hadn't hit the house. The house was still there, but like I could see from one side to the other of the house through the ceiling joists or roof joists, rafters. It's like, whoa. What roof do you want me to fix? There isn't one. That being said, you all, I hope you all had fun with me. And if you're doing remodeling or renovation, just expect the aggravation. I will tell you this, man, it's a lot more fun to do your own. No, I'm not going to lie to you. It is not any more fun to do your own place. Yeah, 2x4 my ass, 2 3/8 by 2, or I'm sorry, 1 3/8 by 3 3/8. That's what they are now, y'all. Somebody forgot how to set up the saws. Man, I have set up saws for cutting boards, and I can tell you damn sure I know the difference between 1 3/8 and 2 inches, and I dang sure know the difference between 3 3/8 and 4 inches. Yeah, we'll just stagger them. Mahe and I favor nothing, miss nothing, broken nothing, absent from your lives that are needed.